Okay, starting off today, folks, I do want to make mention that I am recording the session for the folks that couldn't make it in today. There were about 4 or 5 that said they couldn't because of work or family commitments. So I did have to at least record the session. So just FYI, if you are having issues with your audio today, which has happened periodically here in my other classes, do realize there's still the chat function. So if you are struggling with connection or bad internet service, I get it. You can reach out through email if that becomes an issue. And I've got some people kind of coming in here last second, which is fine. So again, if you're having issues with any sort of tech stuff, just reach out through email later on to let me know what those issues are, especially if it's something with your tech that the school provided, so that we can reach out to Mr. Zemmerly and maybe get that taken care of over the next few days. So again, if you're having issues, that's totally fine. Today's class session is not designed for me to be just straight out kicking out information. I'm going to do a little bit of that tomorrow, but today is more of a discussion-based lesson. And I realize that some of you are going to have some issues with your internet connection here and there. So just, again, just keep in communication about that if that becomes a problem. I appreciate you swinging by. In gratitude for that, you will be receiving some extra credit on top of the assignment that you have today. So that's going to work out well for all of you. Just by merely attending, you're improving your grades. Grades across the board haven't been too bad for this section, so I've been very happy with the effort put forward by many of you. There are still a few folks that are kind of lagging behind, but most of those people aren't here today, so not a surprise there. But again, there are some of you that are lagging behind on work. If you need help with any of that, if you need support, then please reach out and ask, whether it be email or whether you have to set up some special office hours, because the last thing I want is for folks to fail government, especially for the second quarter, just because either you were struggling with the amount of work or you were confused on what you needed to get done. So again, I'm not going to bite your head off here, but we are getting to the last minute. Please don't wait until after winter break to say, hey, I need help, because then you're not going to get much, just because of the lack of time and the ability to reach out and get all of that taken care of. So if you're kind of struggling here getting stuff turned in, that's understandable to a point, but I do need you to be reaching out fairly early in the process in order to get some of that taken care of. So reach out and kind of ask questions as necessary. To start off today, just since I'm going to have a lot of people kind of trailing in from lunch, I did want to at least talk a little bit about the election and what's happening right now in the government, because I think many of you and many of your families probably had a Thanksgiving where that came up as a topic of conversation. I know that's typical stuff around the holiday season is people kind of gather and whether it be through Zoom or whether or not you had small little family gatherings. Lord knows what happened with COVID, but I'm sure that came up as a topic of discussion. And so just to kind of give you an idea of what's happening right now, what is occurring right now is that Donald Trump is still using his legal team to discuss and try and find ways to question the election results in certain states. Now, that is his right as a candidate. He has the right to reach out and ask questions. His argument is that he is trying to solidify the democratic process by calling out maybe some irregularities, or as he calls it, fraud within the election procedures. So far, they haven't found any. Now, he will say he's got these signed affidavits. You'll hear that terminology. Just to give you an idea of what that means that somebody who was working at a polling location, somebody that's been working at the election headquarters, the Board of Elections for a county, that they basically have written down that they saw something that was a little out of the ordinary. So, for example, there was a post office worker in Pennsylvania that said he was in a meeting where somebody said, hey, we're going to mess around with the post dates. And that a post date means that you turned in something to the post office and they stamped it and said, this is when we received it and shipped it. So the idea was by November 3rd, if you got your vote postmarked. You know, they put down that stamp and said, yep, they sent it in by November 3rd. These states basically said, if it's postmarked by the 3rd, we will count it even if we receive it on the 4th, 5th, 6th, or 7th. You know, if we receive it after the election, we will still count it because you tendered your vote before the polling locations closed. What this postal worker said is, hey, I was in a meeting and this person said we're going to count them even if it came in after the election. Now, what happens is when they sign off on that affidavit, and look, an affidavit means that when you sign off on it, you are saying, I am telling the truth here, that this is what I saw. What is being lost in the shuffle, so to speak, is this idea that just because you sign off on it doesn't mean that there was an irregularity. So what this postal service worker basically did is he saw this or was in a meeting, and he is basically saying, you know what, I heard this in a meeting, and they then investigate it and afterwards decide whether or not something shady happened. Now, in this case, this worker basically overheard something, and it ended up being that there were 2 questionable votes. Now, does that mean widespread voter fraud in a state where Joe Biden won by thousands upon thousands of votes? No. You know, so is anything really going to come of these? Probably not. You know, when all is said and done, most of the judges have said either there isn't enough evidence or the evidence is faulty, or you know, their arguments are not really enough to call into question the validity of the vote totals. So what you're going to see over the next few days is these states, specifically Georgia, Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona, Nevada, and Pennsylvania, they're going to certify their vote totals and basically tell their electors, who are representatives of a political party, that when they attend the Electoral College ceremony, which will be on the 20th, they are free to vote their votes. They're free to tender their votes. So basically what's going to happen is they're going to say, well, the 20 Electoral College votes in Pennsylvania are going to be 20 Democrats who are going to gather together in Harrisburg, the state capital, and they're going to tender their votes specifically for Joe Biden. The same thing will happen in Ohio on the 20th. 18 Republicans, since Trump won Ohio, 18 Republicans will gather together and tender their votes for Donald Trump. Those votes are then sent to Congress, and Congress certifies the election by early January. So basically, they're going to certify the election. That's all they're doing. We already know what the end result is based upon the vote total. It's going to be 306 to 232 in the Electoral College. Joe Biden will be president of the United States. They have started the transition. Joe Biden has already started to nominate his cabinet officials, his economic advisors, his foreign policy advisors. He's already started the process, and that process is his nominees have already proven to be rather diverse. There are a great deal of women. There's a lot of minority candidates from varying racial and demographic groups. So this should be one of the most diverse cabinets we've ever seen, assuming that all the people that are nominated, A, accept the job, and B, the Senate says it's okay for them to take the job. So there's still a lot of politicking to go up until January, but that's where we stand right now. So all the stuff you've heard, I passed by, I was in Westchester over the weekend and was doing some grocery shopping. And as I was driving by Voice of America Park, there was a huge rally of Trump folks waving banners and holding up signs that stop the steal and stop the count and all that. That's just a lot of noise right now. I'm not sure what they're really trying to get out of it, because the election, for all intents and purposes, is over. So regardless of what you see on the news, kind of realize right now a lot of these news stations are trying to get as many viewers as they possibly can, so they sensationalize a lot of this. In doing the research and looking at the court reports at this point, Donald Trump really doesn't have too much left in the tank when it comes to electoral questions or lawsuits, if you will. So all the kind of stuff you've heard about, oh, he's suing and it's going to go to the Supreme Court and he's going to overturn the election returns, that's probably not going to happen. It ended up being much ado about nothing, quite honestly. So in the end, they'll certify the election returns, and that'll be it. Any questions over the election or the fallout or anything before we move on? Okay, switching gears a little bit to the actual assignment for today, you will notice, and I'm going to take over and share the screen here. You will notice that on your Google Classroom page that you had classwork for this week under the Zoom meetings here, okay? And one of them was called Classwork Death Penalty Arguments, okay? That is a simple Google Doc. As you can see, when you bring it up, it's just capital punishment arguments, pro versus con. Pro, of course, means for capital punishment, against is con, and then summary of my argument. So what I'm going to do here today is I'm going to ask you to go out to breakout rooms because I don't think you want me just talking at you today. I think it'd be nice for you to finally meet your classmates because these are the people you would have been in class with had we actually had a normal everyday schedule. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kick you out to discussion groups. We are in class technically till 12:55. I'm going to let you out a few minutes early so you have time to get to your sixth bell. But I'm going to put you into discussion groups. And what I want you to do is last week, your assignment was to go through and watch the death by fire video and do the research paper on the death penalty, on the Eighth Amendment, and whether or not the death penalty is truly a cruel or unusual punishment. What I want you to do in your groups is discuss where you were at. Now, I realize some of you are going to have audio issues, so again, use the group chat. So again, please utilize your tools that you have available to you in order to kind of communicate with your group. But you're each going to fill out reasons for capital punishment, and these are the reasons you're going to get from your group members. Reasons against, again, things you're going to get from your group members. And at the end, you're just kind of summarizing what your argument would be. Now that you've heard what other people have to say, has it changed what your original argument was, or are you still kind of sticking to where you were at? So again, all I'm asking you to do is to go out into groups, and I'll form the groups, and the groups will be about 5 people, if you will. And when you get into your breakout rooms, to discuss amongst each other kind of where you stand on the death penalty and what your arguments would be on one side or the other. I'm going to give you about 10 to 15 minutes with which to do that, and then bring you back in to kind of debrief and set you up for tomorrow. So if you have any questions, you can hang back, of course, but I'm going to put you into these groups. I expect you to work with each other on this and participate. Again, if you can't use your microphone right now, then at least through the chat in order to help fill out the form. And then, of course, that second part is you filling out your own version of it, which should be a few sentences at least. You are to turn that in. Your extra credit for just merely showing up and participating today will be put onto that assignment. So if you don't turn in that assignment, your extra credit will not be logged either. So please make sure you do so sometime today. Again, you should be able to fill this out and get it done within the class time. So give you about 10 to 15 minutes to work on this in your groups. Again, hang back if you have any questions. Okay, folks, we're in groups right now, so if you have yet to accept your breakout room assignment, you need to do so. So Marquez, Ms. McLean, Ms. McNett, you need to be joining your groups. We doing all right, Ms. McNett? Again, you can use the chat if you have questions, or you can unmute and ask. Otherwise, you should be in your breakout room. Okay, welcome back, folks. Again, what I'm going to need from you is for you to turn in the form sometime today, so that I can not only give you the credit for turning that in, but also for attending today and getting the extra credit. In the interest of getting you out in time to get to your next class, just the wrap up for this is quite simple. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about the very key differences between the House and the Senate, the basic functions of the Congress. So it'll be a little bit more of a direct talk with all of you, and there will be an assignment associated with it. Again, I don't plan on going much longer than 20 minutes with any of this. So don't feel like you're going to be in from 12:15 all the way to 12:55 tomorrow. If anything, you'll probably be done around 12:30, 12:35 for the session, so that you have time to work on the assignment, which is just a very basic assignment tomorrow. And then for me to explain what the assignment will be moving forward for the rest of the week. If you have any questions, obviously you can hang back. You can email at any time. But in the interest of getting you to your next class, I'm going to let you go. Your next class is at 12:55. So whatever your sixth bell would be, it's at 12:55. So make sure that you're on time to that Zoom call as well. Again, hang back if you have questions. Otherwise, I appreciate you coming in today. Please be safe if you have to go out at all, as we are now entering into some winter weather. But other than that, have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.